You can't let them get away with it here in the United States. What you're hearing is a bunch of Christian wackos forcing their religion into legislation on all of you, forcing their view on all of you of their religious view. And now look what it is. Whether you can have an abortion or not, whether you're gay in any way or not. And why is anybody bugging you about it or whatnot? It's Christian lunatics who are using their religion to make legislation of repression, of denial. Because look at the consequence. Look at the outcome of this stuff. If you get rid of abortion, people are still going to have abortion. It's just going to be illegal, dangerous because it's illegal, and suffering. You're going to make more suffering. And it's like they're clinging to something that, forcing it on all of you. Their little view. And they come up with all sorts of excuses where they don't call it religion. When they're going into anti-abortion bills, these Republicans are pushing through state legislatures now. They don't say it's religion. They know they can't be saying it's religion. In particular, Christianity. Wacko Christian right-wing nuts. They can't say that because there is definition. We do have a constitutionally set separation of church and state. If the issue is between your rights and religion denying you those rights, religion loses every time. That's the system we have. Because the issue is the state, is you, not religion. You. Your rights, your freedoms, your obligations, your responsibilities. Not religion defining it. A particular religion. They're trying to push in kind of like a de facto state religion. And the only way you hear they're doing it in the excuses they come up with and try and tell you why they gotta do it. They don't mention that Christianity is driving them. Because they know they can't. Even though it's every one of them are just Christian wackos who are promoting it and developing and saying we got to do this. And look at the issue. This is just people's lives. How they're going to live their life. Are they gay or not? So who cares? So what? Doesn't make any difference. The only difference in our society and in all societies around the globe, the same way, is do you cause injury? Do you cause damage to others? Then you're causing suffering. Then that's no good. But if you're just gay or you're not, so what? If you want to have an abortion, you have an abortion. It's up to you. It's your obligation. It's your responsibility. That's what it is. But instead, see, in comes these Christian lunatics saying, "Oh no, see, it's viable, it's alive, it's born, and they come up with all this stuff to try and deflect from saying it's their religion that is driving the issue. It's their right-wing religion driving the issue of repression, which is still repression against women anyway. You won't let them just make their own decision. In that regard, how much difference are they than, these Christian lunatics have been saying, Islam's bad. Because Islam has Sharia law, Islamic Sharia law, where the laws are based on Islam. Oh, look what they're doing. They're trying to make the laws based on Christianity the same way. They want to talk about it that way. Instead, they want to deflect. Why not talk about growing up and kids growing up, and they need to know, and they're living what they want to do, and you treat people fairly, honestly, so that you help each other and you help our kids grow up, and we accept these differences amongst people. Some people need glasses, some people don't. Some people need some more training and education so they learn to read, others don't. Well, some people are gay and some people aren't. When you've had a culture and a society that has been so systematically trying to deny and repress rights for gays, you do still, folks, you have to undo that. So you can say, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, which is the basis, foundation, your declaration of independence from repression, from tyranny, from dictatorship, from Republican. Because right now, everything Republicans headed clearly toward fascism, dictatorship, with the tinge all dressed in Christian garb. See, it's like this thing is like, oh, you can't really talk about what they want to do because, it's their religion. And, you're supposed to give some sort of like pass, some acceptance, some sort of tacit agreement to allow them. Well, it's their religion. So even though they have a store, a public store, where they're selling cake, wedding cakes, but when a gay couple came in to have a wedding cake made, that store, that public store, said, oh no, I can't make that cake because it's against my religion. Well, wait a minute. You're supposedly in the public sphere. You're supposedly a public business. And what you're doing is segregation, bigotry. Same way. Didn't have to say, oh, no blacks allowed. You just had to say, oh, no gays allowed. That's what they would. And that was a court case that came up. And the wacko Supreme Courts of the Republicans said, oh yeah, it's okay. Precedent was given to religion over you, over your freedoms. There's an example. Use religion as the excuse to be racist, bigotry, segregationist. You're supposed to have some sort of awe about it. Oh, it's awesome that it's religion and they can't do it. And they're so religious. No, they aren't. They're very totally opposite of religious. They're just bigoted. They're prejudiced. They're ignorant. And they're enforcing, by the same religion, they're enforcing more suffering, segregation, division, not harmony, not love and peace. Isn't it odd that it comes down to big talk and all the Republicans have? Because, Republican economics is a failure. It's happened over and over again. It's a failure. Doesn't work. So Republicans aren't talking about, in politics, they're not talking much about actual things about, economics. Because they're a failure. You've seen it over and over again. The Bush-Cheney Republican collapse in 2008, at the time, was the worst since the 1929 Great Depression. It was 8 years of Republicans. And there was the outcome. And they tried at the state level. The guy named Brownback, who was the governor of Kansas, and he tried to put straight in Republican economics of the Reagan trickle-down lies and fraud, and guess what? Kansas went belly up bankrupt. Even Reagan's own economic advisor, David Stockman, admitted that that trickle-down thing was all fraud and smoke and mirrors. It was just tax breaks for the rich. Give money to the rich and make you pay for everything. And they don't. That's all it was and is. So Republicans don't want to talk about economics. They don't hear much about economics. They just say, oh, geez, that inflation. Oh, geez, the price of gas going up. Oh, geez. What do you think is going to happen after you've had 2 years of COVID disaster? Economics worldwide took a crash. And after 2 years of that crash, guess what? You're finally coming out, because finally some intelligence, the Democrats and Biden came in and got people vaccinated, got the vaccine going, distributed, got some organization and structure. After you had the idiot Trump stand up there and tell you, oh, it's all a hoax. COVID's just a hoax, said Trumpy boy, while thousands of you were dying every day. And other Republicans all joined in too and just, oh yeah, COVID, it's a hoax. Oh geez. And there you were suffering. Now, you can't trust anything Republican. Because look what they do. Look what the history is, the facts. And particularly in economics. So what have the Republican lunatics got left? Just look at January 6th. And you saw what they got left. Fascism, insurrection. Everybody intelligent, by the way, should know that this whole Republican claim that the 2020 election was somehow rigged and fraud and whatnot is a Republican lie. There are no facts that support that. There is no validity to that. It's been in the courts, and every lawsuit has been thrown out because it lacks legal merit. And even Trump's own attorney, this poor idiot Sidney Powell, stood up because she's getting sued for defamation against the voting machines company. And her only defense is that her claims in those lawsuits were so stupid and outrageous that only the insane would believe it. And that tells you a lot about who's currently the Republican Party is full of then, by the way, doesn't it? So what do they got left, these Republicans? They tried the insurrection, and look who showed up. Nazis. Racist groups. Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, 1%, all those nuts. All of them, racist groups. That's who the Republican Party is. It shows. If you call somebody to action, you want them to do something for you by your party, and, well, look who shows up. And that's your party. The Christian fascists in there, too, showing up. Oh, we got to overthrow the government as well. To deny women access to abortion. By religion. It's not my religion. And religion is not part of legislation. Separation, church and state. Every time it's an issue between your rights and a religion trying to deny you those rights, religion loses. That's if you're in a democracy like we have. But instead, Republicans, what do? They put all these right-wing Christian lunatic nuts on the Supreme Court and into the federal courts. And they blocked the Democrats from putting in federal judges. They blocked Obama from putting in federal judges. They're blocking Biden from putting in federal judges. They're blocked Obama's pick for the Supreme Court. But then they turned around and used the same excuse to rush in Supreme Court people under the criminal Trump. Right-wing nuts. And then they'll say, see the courts are doing it. What are they legislating? Christian Sharia law is what really is happening. Trying to force religion into legislation and then force that religion onto all of you. That's what it is. You can't get away from it. Because otherwise there's no validity to say deny women access to abortion. That's up to them. So what? It's their life, their decision, their responsibility. You're not bringing up that kid. In fact, Republicans are the ones who are, look at their history, they vote to cut funding for prenatal care, child support. What do they call them? Child care centers. You know, working parents, and they put their kids in a child care situation. Republicans block paying money for education. If you're going to have more kids, because you're not going to have any abortions, you're going to have more kids. Well, you better be paying more for, because of that, for education, job training, health care, all the way through. But they're not. Republicans, hypocrites as they are just, that's what they vote against. The very thing. If you're going to have the end of abortion, which is so stupid, let's just say right off the bat, that's a dark age stupidity. There's no validity there. This is something to grab these 30% of the population, because this is what Karl Rove, Republican strategist, admitted years ago, that they go after these lunatics down on the far right end, and so they talk, guns, and abortion, and racism, and they get about 30-35% of their vote, the Republican vote, is coming from that extremist groups. So they pander to it. But then on the other hand, because they pander to it, that's who's in their party. That's who runs for office and gets elected based on that. So you got all these Christian lunatics and racist, fascists that are Republican in a democracy. And so, guess what? Republicans are busy trying to find ways of legislation to block you from voting as well. In the states, they're passing that legislation left and right. Come up excuses. Oh, there was voter fraud. No, there wasn't. Once again, there's no facts that validate the Republican claim that somehow you got to have all this voters laws in here and ID laws and whatnot. No, there isn't. The facts say there is no voter fraud of any significant numbers that would overturn any election. It's so microscopic. Oh, but because there's one or two, it's not 100%. And so they can say, see, there that one person in Texas, she tried to vote illegally. And so we need all this stuff to repress all black people and other people from voting. That's what Republicans are doing. Is the facts. And you got to start saying it, the facts. The facts are they're trying to push in this Christian Sharia law. The facts is they're relying on these extremist nutcases who would, you give them the reign, they're destroying your democracy. Anything of any kind of thing that's democracy. Because who are they? You saw them on January 6th. Christian fascists. Racist groups. Nazis. That's who showed up saying that there's our Republican. Yeah, that's what Republican is.